we are just wondering, the IT departments in the corporates, what are they currently thinking? What are they currently doing? What is their sentiment and what are they most interested in? And who can you better ask that about the legacy IT systems, you know, the traditional ICT, and where they're moving to, than Gartner. Gartner is the holy trust, is the holy grail of trust of IT systems. We all know them about the hype cycle, where they tell what's true, what's not true, when it's coming, when it's mature, and when we can work on it. And every year they ask everybody what the big companies, what they think about it. And Bart Mellink and I know each other for a long time. When we were as young as these students, we're getting extremely old. I'm nearly 60 years old. I'm 59 years old. It's really, I mean, horrible. We're so old. But we started a company when we were 23 years old. And the company has just been sold for 80 million. It was SICO, and then we did document management. So once we were modern, once we were innovative, and we tried to to make our mark on the world. And we did that together. We worked together for a long time. Now he works for Gartner. And he's going to tell us what happens in the ICT boardrooms at the big companies. So give Bart a big hand. In 10 minutes, he has to do it.
Thank you very much, Vincent. So a couple of weeks ago, I had a conversation with the CIO of a large governance agency. And he came to me and said, okay, I have this problem. I have this boss of mine, the director general, who said, we need to do something with data. We need to do something with data because I think data is important. And then I asked him, so what do you want to do? He said, well, I don't know. It's this political problem that our big boss is saying, we want to be modern. We want to be something that is more cool than the other ministries. So I said, well, let's start a data project and think about that. And it's a little bit the same with blockchain. And it would be the same as your friends come to you and say, I want to buy something on Amazon. I need to buy something on Amazon. You would say, what do you need? Well, I don't know. It's just cool to buy something online. And that's such a stupid thing. And we see that now with all the time over with blockchain. So if you look at our #1 search time on our website on Gartner.com, it's blockchain. Everybody likes to know what is it about. What is this that this cool new technology can do for us? And the point is, they all need to think about an enterprise blockchain project. They're almost forced by their bosses about what do we do with blockchain. Actually, it almost seems like the enterprise blockchain is the answer. So what's really the question? And that's the problem with creating lots of those enterprise blockchain projects, because a CIO is typically very busy, either with renewing systems or with maintaining systems or thinking about a new outsourcing contract or doing a data analytics project, and all those things that are very, very important because they need to serve an existing business problem. So if you then think about an enterprise blockchain project, it's not really a business problem. It's about typically, at this point, when it is asked to them, a CIO problem or a board of directors problem, they want to look cool as a project. So what would you do then to satisfy that CEO? Well, one thing you can do as a CEO, just create some kind of pointless proof of concept. Think about, well, we did a job, we're live, we have something, get out a press release, and we're a cool company, and we do that. What it really cares about, and that's where most directors or CIOs of companies look at for their companies, say, I want to be able to solve a real business problem, because that's what I'm paid for. That's why I have the money that is given to me to sustain and to build some of the IT systems. So these problems you see here on the board, it's likely or possibly that you could solve that with a blockchain, but that doesn't mean that's the only solution. So that's the real problem that those CIOs look for. Now, we have observed over the last 2-3 years a lot of enterprise blockchain projects. We have created some guidelines about these are the things that are good, these are the things that are bad, these are bad practices. In my speech last year when I was here, I spoke about the 10 best practices about a blockchain project. And since then, still, this is true, that 90% of the enterprise blockchain projects are still very centralized projects. And then I do not mean a centralized database design. that could actually be as well, but even if it's a centralized governance, there's only a small team that develops this stuff. There's only a very small team that decides who has access and who has not, who you actually should trust in this blockchain project. It provides then a more wider capability for people to go there. And even some of those cases you would hear today, you would see a situation that you could think about it, is it just this blockchain that's just cool under there, or does it really provide you a decentralized governance, a decentralized capability to do something cool and to do something new that has not been possible without using a blockchain? And most of those projects could have been done cheaper and at a lower cost and better quality without using blockchain. And that's the key point. That doesn't mean all of them, but many of them are. So, the reason for that is that blockchain is a new technology. We still need to think about it. And one of the things that Dave Birch came this morning is about tokens, right? It is not really about the underlying database. We have had distributed database forever. We can do some kind of distributed API. We can access data from all over the internet very easily. It's not the problem of the distributed database. It's the problem of kind of looking at how to distribute the trust. And we have to learn that technology. And the Gartner Hype Cycle is one of the ways we try to envision to people that want to say, let's go with the flow and create our great blockchain project without really thinking about a really business problem, to think where it is. And we have positioned in our Hype Cycle, which we publish typically once a year. So this is the one from August last year. I don't have the 2018 version one yet, but the one thing you would know, what you would expect, that blockchain, which is up there somewhere at the top of the hype, will at some point go down a little bit to this trough of disillusions, where we would say it doesn't really solve world hunger, it doesn't solve our problem what we have, but it will help us to understand better what will be the next phase. So it will be going somewhere further down. But there are other parts of that which are very early on the hype cycle. So let's take, for instance, smart contracts. And it's been spoken about a couple of times these days already. Smart contracts, if you look at from a security perspective. So last week I had a talk with a security officer and we talked about smart contracts. He said, okay, I need to look at risks. So what's the risk of a smart contract? Well, he said there's 3 of them, and maybe there are more, but there are 3 of them that I think are important. So one is, it involves everything that can go wrong with code, because a smart contract is a piece of code that's embedded in the blockchain. And if it doesn't work, or if there's a bug, you will have an issue. Well, nobody writes perfect code. There's some people that write very good code, but nobody does that perfectly. So that's one problem. So I need to look at that and understand that. And there was a second problem. He said, well, a contract is a contract. So nobody writes a perfect contract. You could go to a judge to fight about a contract, but if that's not embedded in the code and you can't change anything about that, that's a real problem, because interpreting a right contract in code and then run that, that's really an issue from a security perspective. And then there is a third problem, and that really involves to everything about networking. We haven't even begun to really understand what are the potential network hacks that you could have with a blockchain environment. People have been thinking about it, and you can think about, well, I have the majority of mining, or I can simulate that I have the majority of mining. No doubt, we will find over the next couple of years all kind of issues related to the security of the network. So all those things together make up the smart contract risks. That's something we still have to learn. That doesn't say don't do anything about it, but it still means that some things will happen and we'll have some pain over time. So we will have some catastrophic issue with a major platform. Well, maybe that's happening, maybe not, but these are some assumptions you could very well consider. That most blockchains will start with the idea that technology is great, you'll do something quickly, bring it up, and then there's very poor execution because they think it's going to be very cheap and you want to be there quickly and live. The other side of the coin is, well, maybe not, maybe not, maybe not, but it will happen again. So, the point is that after the CIO survey that we do every year, we look at what is the percentage of people that really implement blockchain. 1%. Now, there's a lot of interest about that, but if you look cross-industry, 1% really, and that's that gray line all the way on top. There's a lot of people that experiment, do proof of concepts, but it's a very small percentage of the 3,000 companies we interview. If we look at the financial services, a little bit more. It's about let's say 5%, and it went up because lots of people were not interested at all last year, and now almost everybody is more or less interested. There's only 10% that says, well, no longer interested. So there's a lot of movement specifically in the financial industry. But if you look at it, where do you want to spend your money on? What are the top 15 technologies? Well, data is up there. Internet and mobile applications are up there, and all those things like Internet of Things, they're all up there. And blockchain is somewhere there at the end with a stunning 0.45% on the priority list of what to do. Again, financial services is a little bit better, 2%, but even there, they can spend some money, and because they can create their own money, that's what we've heard this morning, and they can have a little bit more spending on that area, and they see that as a capability. So, to close down, more or less, in this area, I want to say that there are two sides of the coin. There's one side is you can think about cost savings, and you can think about blockchain will make things a lot cheaper. The interesting slide I had of this morning was the IBM slide where they said, oh, the blockchain part is easy. The other part about running an IT project and doing all that stuff, that's hard. And we think that still, that over the next periods, we will see that 80% of the project that where the goal is money saving will fail to resolve those results. They will be successful, but they will not be able to save money because that's not where the problem lies. It's not the blockchain itself, it's all the other stuff around, which is very close to a traditional IT project. And the other part is that companies that really look towards making blockchain a really radical transformation and use that, it will only be a very small part of the organizations. So, that's not an excuse to do nothing, it's an excuse to continue to experiment, to be interested, get yourself involved, and really think about what is the exact business problem you want to solve, and not think about, I should use blockchain anyway. And this is the final quote. I used it last year as well from Bill Gates, saying, again, the same message, don't underestimate what's happening in long term, think about short term, but don't expect the world to completely change in a year. Thank you very much. And I hope I stayed within my 10 minutes.
Oh yes, you did a great job. Okay, Bart, when you and I were starting our company, right, 1984, IT was mini computers, mainframe computers. Do you remember what we did with PCs?
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and we came into industrial automation, we said, you'll use the PC. What did everybody say?
You're crazy because
Yes.
it's our small computers
It
and there's
will
new stuff
fail.
in it.
Yeah, it will fail. And then we also did the next thing. We had this whole thing about internet coming up in 1994, and all the traditional IT says, we have here the postgiro, and you can dial up and you can do anything. Why would we use an internet? Why this Amazon thing? This would, you know, I mean, is your environment where you are with 3,000 IT people, you know, these CIOs, is that the most progressive environment?
Oh yes, they are. Some of them are not, and some of them are very progressive because that's why they want to do that. And that's where...
Isn't it the business manager says we need to be cool, we need to do something with this thing, blockchain?
They say that because they read about it, but on the other hand, they also say that about multiple other things. And the point is the IT person would typically look at it and go back and say, this is possible with it, I come with use cases, but let's think about what business problem we want to solve, and not just the issue of it must be blockchain.
Yeah, yeah. But shouldn't they also? I mean, we have seen that POC thing, right? Everybody does a proof of concept and puts two people in a room and two laptops and says we have a blockchain. We've done it. And then the Dutch central bank says we created the florin, and everybody has a press release all over the world. The Dutch central bank created a florin, which was just one room with 4 laptops, and it was an afternoon of just configuring the code. Well, I mean, but I mean, shouldn't you try to put something in production to get real experience?
Oh yeah,
what Koopman is doing and what Everledger is doing.
Yeah,
it's getting real.
And that's true. And at the same time, those same IT people need to make sure they do something with data, with IoT, with mobile, with security, and they need to still run a business. So the point is, what's the priority? And the priority is a balanced thing that they need to think about. If you're a startup, it's easy. But if you are running a business, then it is something you need to balance in that area.
Okay.
And think about where would you invest in, right? Would you invest in which ledger? Which would it be Ripple? Would it be Ether? Whatever.
Corda, Ethereum.
Well, when
yeah,
we started
yeah,
back
yeah.
in that time, what was the prominent search engine?
Yeah.
Alta Vista or
That's
Yahoo or whatever.
But
Who made it?
interesting, Bart was chairman of a group, the Network User Group. It was all the system managers of the Netherlands, 3,000 people with 1 million PCs. And we started, you started that group, and I also became, when you were gone, I basically also was chairman for a couple of years. And after me, Jan Kees de Jager. And I was always telling them about new things which were coming up. You know, the internet and the big data and the big this and that and that. And they always were so, no. But, and I go like, why are you guys so conservative? These were the guys who basically manage the infrastructure in these companies. And they said, well, Vincent, there's a problem. Always business comes. And they asked me, can you do this? And then we have two options. If we say no, dan zijn we een lul. And if we say yes, then we are de lul. So we're screwed either way if we say yes or no. I mean, and that is basically, I thought, because they are very progressive by themselves, but they're always very afraid to get the blame. And technical people always get the blame.
Yes,
But you had a fantastic warning for us. Everybody is very much looking at it and doesn't know what to do with it. Let's see how they are doing it next year. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.